Hey, Roll20, it's Anthony Joyce Rivera here to give you a first look at the new Dragonlance module that is just released worldwide. You can get it today, right now. And I'm here with two very, very special guests. I am so excited on release day that we get to talk to Mario and Aaron, two of the writers from this amazing book. So what we're going to do today is we're going to give you a look at the Roll20 module, and we're going to be asking questions. We're going to have a conversation with Mario and Aaron, and we're going to get the scoop, the dirty secrets that GMs are going to love to make their players be challenged and all the good stuff. So I'll let them introduce themselves. So Aaron, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Mario.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Roberts. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a writer for such amazing things as Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, and also Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, which is also amazing. And Mario and I both were part of that. But you can find my work all over the place: Pathfinder, Starfinder, Hunter of the Reckoning, and you can always find me on Twitter at Nirele, Nirele, which is L Aaron backwards because I'm not good at Spanish.
Yeah, and my name is Mario Ortegon. I am a writer and game designer as well. I've worked on a few products from WotC, including Radiant Citadel, this beautiful book that we're going to talk about, and also worked on Hunter the Reckoning. That's a bunch of stuff for NCDM. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Also, my Twitter is L Warriors, but it's not backwards. It's just L Warriors. So Aaron and I were very much in sync. Just like, yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, again, I'm Anthony Joyce Rivera. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm on Twitter at @AJoyce_Rivera. And I do game design, D&D stuff. I'm a big fan, and I'm just excited to experience this first look with everybody here today. So let's start with what is the Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen book. There's been a lot of talk about it. As you see on your screens here, we got this beautiful cover. We got a dragon, and we got some draconians, which are the new enemy types that are coming to D&D. We have Lord Soth in the background there, and I'm going to bring up some artwork because when you get the module here on Roll20, you get all the cover art, okay? So normally when you go out and you buy a book, you only get one. But here we have the alt cover. I'm going to pop this up for you here. It's going to be a beautiful alt cover that's only available at the friendly local gaming stores, but also on Roll20. And that's Lord Soth. So do you all want to share anything about Lord Soth for, like, in your writings? Did you all have to kind of tie anything with Lord Soth? Or what can we expect from Lord Soth? And if not, I will maybe share some things that I have been able to find by perusing the module.
Lord Soth is really friendly. You should just go up, just give him a big hug. That's what he likes.
Yeah, he just wants love. No, that just, even as I said it, it just felt wrong. No, I mean, Lord Soth is kind of like, the iconic villain of Dragonlance, right? And even he's been present. He hasn't been represented officially in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. However, he has been making an appearance as the official Death Knight ever since the Monster Manual came out. So yeah, it's a pretty iconic villain, and a lot of the effort that was made. There was a lot of effort made to make it so that he was a big presence, and the closest analogy that I can make is that you will be facing the Darth Vader of this world.
Nice.
And hopefully it feels that way, because that was the objective.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. And so one of the things that I really like about this book, and for everybody out there listening on Roll20, you're going to be able to get this information directly through the compendium. So when you buy this module, what you're seeing right now on the screen is the virtual tabletop game table where you're going to roll dice. You're going to pop up handouts like I've been doing. But there's also compendium on the main Roll20 site where you can go in and dive in and kind of like you're reading a book, but virtually, like an ebook, if you will. And what's cool about the Dragonlance book here is it has 7 chapters, and the first chapter, gives us a big, broad, macro overview of Krynn, the new world of Krynn. Or for those of you who in 5th edition new, for old school players, they've been very familiar with that book series and that world. And then chapters 2, we're going to talk about here in a moment with some new stuff like preludes, which are very personal events that connect the character to the story. And then chapters 3 through 7, which lead us to this big cinematic arc think of like your epic war that's happening in fantasy, but your characters are kind of having these pivotal moments where they change the outcome of the world that reshapes the world, if you will, of Kryn. So that's really cool. But I'll touch on chapter 1, what's really neat. I'm going to pop up a character that I made, but there are new character options. Boom, the Kender. And there's a new lunar subclass for a lunar sorcerer subclass to get their power from the moon. And there's a lot of new feats and a lot of new backgrounds. So this here is the character sheet on Roll20. You'll see Prince Popple's information. I can make all my rolls from the sheet here. I can go to my spells. I'm going to cast a guiding bolt, and you should all see the rolls occurring here. So these character sheets are very user-friendly for the DM, for the players. Everybody can see the rolling of the dice. They can see what spells are being cast in the chat windows and the damage and everything like that. So this is very helpful to keep combat moving, which can get bogged down sometimes when we play D&D, and get to the good narrative stuff. So the Kender are like a small gnomish type race that are very mischievous, and they're fearless and very childlike in nature. They have like a human face and very pointy ears, almost like an elf, and they're very short. Aaron and Mario, any Kender any NPCs maybe, or experiences or thematic stuff in the story that Kender might experience, characters potentially that are Kender have as they play through Dragonlance?
I will say, actually, before we get to that, I just have to get too excited about this,
Yeah.
which is that when you did your guiding bolt, I was like, oh, guiding bolt, what's that again? And then I clicked show spell description, and it like popped it up, which I think is just so great, because like sometimes you don't play a particular class,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not doing that spell ever in your own characters, and then you're playing with somebody and they're like, I do this, and I can actually get a little peek of what it is. I got
Yeah.
so excited
It,
about that. But I think to answer your actual question, as a short person myself, I feel I love those Kender vibes. Short and mischievous. I was like, I'm in it. But what I like about them is I think, they're just I don't know, there's a certain joy. That's I think if I were playing a Kender character, I would go with like kind of the joy and the kind of just doing things, and things show up on your person. You're not really sure, where they come from. But there's something kind of about accepting life the way it is, and also being short. And those are two things that I believe in very strongly.
I love it. I love it. Mario, how about you?
Well, before I talk about that, I just want to apologize because like we are using Roll20's video client, and you popped up the character sheet and I didn't know that it was covering you, Erin. I just removed it, so I mean it's fine. We can hear you, but now half of what you were saying,
I
we
was
couldn't see
hiding.
you.
That
I
was
am sorry.
part of my.
He was doing her.
That's part of my.
Yeah.
journey.
He was talking from under the character sheet.
Yeah, I was like, boop,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am.
yeah.
And-
So I just want to acknowledge it because it was kind of funny. Sorry, but no, I mean
I'm here
Kenders
for
are Kenders are amazing. There's a couple in the adventure that are very dear to me as characters. Many of them are in later parts of the adventure, so that I won't spoil too much, but every time you encounter a Kender in this adventure, it's something that you'll remember because they are very. Their presence is very magical. They are not like halflings, which are just like adults, tiny adults. Kenders are they very much retain that sort of like childlike disposition their entire lives. And it was important when we were creating those NPCs that was part of what we were presenting. So they were fun to write, and hopefully they leave an impression.
Awesome. And I'm going to move our page over here so everybody can kind of see. So what you're seeing right now on the screen is the Roll20 tips that are going to help those individuals who are new or long-term users of Roll20 as new features come out, because they're coming out with new features all the time. Speaking of which, like Mario alluded to earlier, we are playing, and this is all being filmed directly into the client of Roll20 with the new beta voice and video features that are available now for pro users in the beta. So they're always implementing and investing in the platform, and things are evolving. You'll see some of the cool things here. So again, I talked about the compendium. You see that right there at the top here. I'm gonna ping that for everybody there. We also have the different hidden tokens. So as you can see there, there's a hidden token. I'm going to the GM layer now, and I am going to pop up. Let's see if we can get some cool little monsters here. Maybe like a draconian or somebody. Let's see here. I think an Aurak draconian. There we go. Is popping up. So you can kind of like hide your enemies, and that way they don't spoil the surprise when players are exploring a map. And then you can pop them up when they're popping up out of the ground, and they can surprise your players and combat can begin. You also have different tools and tips for the dynamic lighting. So what's really cool now is there's a lot of new dynamic lighting features in Roll20. There's the traditional you can't see through a wall. But now they have like this window option where you can place windows, and your players can unlock the window, and you can open it and pass through it, and they can peek in through the wall and see vision on the other side. So there's a constant evolving suite of tools for DMs to use, and it's all right here for you to dig in. Now, next, we're going to go to the token page. So not only does this come with new player options, again, the Kenda race, the lunar sorcery subclass for sorcerers. There are also 9 new feats tied to specific organizations within the Dragonlance settings, such as the Knights of Solamnia and the Mages of High Sorcery, where you can progress your character through there. And also, spoiler alert, you get extra feats in Dragonlance. I want to talk to Mario and Aaron about this. For players, we're not used to getting a lot of feats, but this book is written and it says you get extra feats because of the epic heroism. So what do you have to say about that kind of vibe that's coming through the entire campaign?
I love it. I mean,
Yeah.
I low-key, I was already doing that in my games, because every time I think it like a pet peeve of mine is like players who want options that they feel like they have to choose a specific, like the human, so they can get like their own feats, and they can do extra stuff like that. So I really like sort of just adding that option so that players have that normally in the beginning. And I think that that fits the vibe of the book so well, because like, yeah, this is an epic story. It's not just normal people doing normal things. There's characters who are literally chosen by the gods to go and do their bidding, and yeah, it's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it fits with the feeling that you're in sort of dire time. I mean, the world of Kryn is in, a dire time, and the characters themselves are up against these huge odds, and just like really sort of, on the one hand, get to play like a pivotal role like you were talking about, but on the other hand, like there's a lot going on. And I think the idea that like you need to dig deep within yourself, that's sort of how I always think about feats when I'm playing. It's like you dig deep and you're able to do this thing, and this is a setting and a story that makes you dig deep, so then we also give you the ability to do so, and as opposed to kind of limiting the ways that you can do that and then throwing you up against these huge odds.
Nice. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be, I'm lucky enough to be playing through this campaign, so I'm very excited for what you all have in store for us, and I'm liking the epic vibes. And I want to show something here with the tokens before you. So for GMs out there, you have a lot of stuff going on when you're running a game, right? You got players that might be asking questions. You're kind of thinking about the next move or the next role play moment. What I love about these tokens is when you just, if right now as the GM, I'm gonna look through here and see, all right, we got Lord Soth, Dustwalker, and I can click on them, and they have a bunch of buttons at the top that'll come up for me, the DM, to see, and I can start casting. You see in the chat window there, I'm going to be doing some multi attacks, and let's see here. I want to get these attack rolls on my end to populate for everybody. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Got my roll. All right, so I'm able to roll and show the players directly.
I don't think we see that.
Oh, you're not seeing it. Okay, hold on. Let me get it
hidden.
set up.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Dice options, text chat, and I may have to go fix that and let you guys see it. I have to set that up later as a GM. But I can click and go through all the different attacks and see all the rolls here. I can hide it from the players, or I could show it to them if I have that set up, which I should have done earlier. But again, it makes the combat so much easier for me as a GM to figure out what's going to be happening next. Now, let's go to some of these cool maps that we got here. Let's go to Battle of High Hill. Okay, so this map here should be popping up for everybody. I'm going to pop up some of the bad guys we got on the map. So right now, what I'm looking at on my screen is there's a lot of hidden tokens that I can bring up here, and I'm going to start bringing some up. You'll see them popping through. Now, do you all want to talk about the flares on the side of the map? Are you familiar? Like, can you explain what the fiery kind of artwork is on the side? I know that there's a new like mass combat system tied to this, so I'll let you all explain if you would.
Sure. Erin, would you like to, or?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's the fray. Basically, there's a mechanic in this new book that, instead of worrying about dealing with the rules of mass combat and being granular about what everyone else is doing while our heroes are doing their thing, we came up with a way to represent what's happening around everyone, and that is called the fray. All of the maps that are mass battles have this area, and that means that whenever players enter it, they are subject to certain effects. Like it would be basically just entering battles and combat that is happening all around you. And even if you don't enter it, at certain points something happens within the fray that affects you one way or the other. But you can push opponents in there and stuff like that. It offers a lot of opportunities to interact with the mass battle in that way without bogging down the process. I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, and I think it really makes it feel like, I mean, granted, I have not been in any large scale battles but I think it gives you that feeling that there's it's always kind of going on, and you can get pulled into it and pulled out of it, and it makes it, I think, feel a little more chaotic in a good way. Like, I think more organized for actually running it, but it gives you that sense of the chaos of battle, in the sense that, like, it can pop up and then you're a part of it, and then it's not there and you're doing something else, but it still remains sort of like, almost like you feel like you're hearing the sounds of swords clashing in the background as you're going about the things that you're trying to do.
Yeah. I as a player, I went, and GM myself, but I am playing in this. So I thought it was really neat where on the battlefield now, I can get hit by these arrows that are coming up, or there's these different blasts, or, people hit me with swords if I get too close to the edge of the battlefield. And what I really liked was with Dragonlance and Roll20 specifically is to have the board game complement. So I can use the virtual tabletop to do the more, if I got to be out of town for the week or something, maybe connect with friends that way, play, and then boom, we do a game night together around the board game table and play that new
that would be cool.
Dragonlance game. Or maybe meet up at a convention or for the holidays. It'd be cool to do that in person, and then supplement this experience with something like that. Because maybe there's a lot of people who use Roll20 that are casual, and they just kind of intermix it with in-person play and virtual. So I'm going to pull up a city map here. So there's a lot of cool cities that you're going to be going to. Here is the city of Vogler, but I want to go to the good stuff.
Beautiful.
Let's go.
I love seeing it on the screen. There's something about, seeing it on the screen, because you can really see, some of the detail. Like, I have a big old screen in front of me. So,
nice.
I feel like I'm really able to see it in like such a beautiful way. I don't know. It feels like, I don't know, there's something just really amazing. That's what I love about like Roll20 and BTT. It's just like, it really puts it in the same type of screen that I would use to like watch a movie. And so it really brings it to life in this really fun, exciting way. And I'm always looking at the little trees in ways that I might not even look at in such detail in the book, like when I was holding it in front of me. And, I almost feel like I could live here in one of these little houses before adventure comes.
I was gonna say, it would be a shame if
This is definitely some.
This is my alternate campaign where you have stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring up this big regional map here.
Oh hell yeah!
So this is the regional map that we have. I'm gonna see. Do you all want to talk about this region and what players can expect or GMs can expect? Because this is a part of Kryn. But I'll turn it over to you and kind of let you fill us in on what to expect.
So this is the Kalaman region. It basically includes the city of Kalaman and its surroundings, and the horrible deathland to the north, known as the Northern Wastes. And I'll let Aaron expand on that because it's very interesting.
The Northern Wastes are so cool. I mean, like, I might not go there as a tourist, but they're just, it's such a great thing to actually see the detail. And what I loved in working on sort of thinking about the Northern Wastes was the difference in elevation that you can really see here. You can see the like parts where, you're lower down, you're in a cavern, you can see where you're on high ground. And that is important because there is flooding called the wash that comes through the Northern Waste kind of unpredictably. And so sometimes you might be in a cavern and now there's water there with you, and whatever that water carries with it, which could be enemies, which could be, who knows, maybe something cool washes up that you want to, scavenge for. But I think there's something really great about thinking about both how you're journeying forward as you're trying to like get to the place you're going, but also like how your journey kind of works in an up and down way. I think that the mechanics that are in there won't go into too much depth that get you to think about what are you doing, where are you, where do you want your party to be within these canyons, and where are they going within this place. And Mario can speak to this, but this is really a very sandbox area of the map, which I think is really cool because you can sort of, your party can set their direction in terms of how they want to be in this part of the world.
Yeah. So something that is really cool is that this is a region of the world of Kryn that hasn't been, explored too much in the past. Like before Shadow of the Dragon Queen, we knew about the Northern Wastes and we knew about certain things that were there, certain kind of like landmarks and points of interest. But this is the first time that players get to actually go there and adventure and get to see what it's like. So I think that is very interesting. And as Aaron says, it has a it has a sense of like, as you can see right now on the screen, it has many points of interest, and players can decide what they want to explore first. Obviously, there are points of where they are guided about like clues of what might be there, to draw their interests. But I think it's super interesting just that we have this region that has been there for a very long time as part of the Dragonlance lore, and this is the first time that players actually can go there and see what's hidden in those canyons. To the south, obviously, this is mostly where the entire adventure happens. Players, we see Bogler, players start there, and eventually they move to Kalaman, and eventually they leave to the north, and they do engage with everything that we see here on this map. This is kind of like the area where everything happens. So yeah, I think it also shows very well the scope of the adventure, how focused we are in what we're doing. Because Kryn is massive. So this is kind of an introduction to like if anyone out there feels like there's just like, there's just so much history to this place, and Dragonlance is such a big franchise, and there's too many places to go. You don't have to worry about too much because our adventure happens here, and we're worried about what happens here at this specific period of time, and I like that about it a lot.
To give,
I would say even within this though, what I like, it is a small part of this very large, very rich world.
Yeah.
But I also think like even on this map, you can see just the variety, like the different types of things that you're here. It's obviously there is like kind of the wastes and the caverns, and then here you've got rivers and trees and foresty type areas, and I think it really shows that even in this small region, you and your players are just really getting a chance to experience a lot of different things in the background, in the
Yes.
scenery, in the types of encounters that different types of biomes attract, which always makes it like really much more fun because everything you're doing is both advancing the story, but also you're just getting a different set of challenges that you and your players have to face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And what I'm going to do here, just since we're talking about it, I'm going to pull us over to the world map. So everybody, this does come with again, if you want to do your own homebrew stuff in the world of Dragonlance, with also within this module or in addition to it, you can see how massive the world is. But I do like the very narrative focused approach that Aaron and Mario and the rest of the team took when they came up with this story, because it provides very, you feel like you're the heroes of your area, changing the world. So I'm going to jump back though to the region that we're at. So I'm going to pull us back to
This map is
Calaman region.
beautiful, by the
Oh,
way. Oh my
it is.
god.
It is. There's a lot of detail in there.
Yeah.
But let me pull up some images here for us to see. So I want to kind of give DMs a look. Let's see here. There's some characters that I saw stuck out to me. So do you all want to talk about some of these characters? Aaron, I believe the first one is yours, so please do fill us in on who we're seeing and what to expect from them.
Clystry, he's probably over my face right now.
Thank you for reminding me. I move him to the side. Now
I'm mostly here for me, but I'm here for you.
Yeah, no. Now he's next to you. You can like gesture to him.
Yes, I love him. He's amazing. He is a very earnest, very adventure-y, like, there's probably a world, if he could play D&D, he would. And you can run into him in the Northern Wastes where he's out exploring and just trying to learn more about the world and go out and about. And his big kind of quest in life is to find a full-grown dragon. And he'll look anywhere, even places he shouldn't, in order to do that. And so I just find him he's right now in this picture probably rappelling into like a hole he shouldn't be in order to continue his search. But huge fan of his, and he's just adorbs. And the art looks so good. It looks so cute.
The art is great, and Mario, we're gonna kind of jump over here to one as well that you have some knowledge of. So yeah, and while you talk about this character, I just want to let everybody know, and Mario, you'll have to do this, but if you scroll down, you'll start to see more information pop up. Now, this is information that only the GM would normally see. What I have done is I've shared it with all the players so that you all can get a feel for the type of information that comes with the Roll20 module, again, which is the stuff that Mario and Aaron have so beautifully written for us to enjoy. So go ahead and explain who Dalamar is, Mario.
Yeah, so Dalamar Argent is a very it's a prominent character in Dragonlance franchise. He has entire books dedicated to his journey as not so not so good wizard, but when we meet him here, he's at the beginning of his kind of like journey into becoming what he will be in the future. It was great to revisit or pre-visit, I guess, one of these iconic characters and kind of like show him at the beginning of his journey. When the characters meet him, he is part of an elven retinue, which you can kind of see here in the text that Anthony shared with us. They are visiting the Northern Wastes, and I say visiting in quotes because they're actually kind of like vanished there, and it was very funny because when we were writing it, I remember talking to Aaron about these characters, and it's like elves are just pissed to be there. No one wants to be in that place, and it was kind of fun vibing with the concept of this elves sort of being in this location, basically against their will, but also having no choice because elven society kind of sucks. So, so yeah, I'm not gonna go into too much detail because there's a couple spoilers there. But you know, this is when we meet Dalamar, we kind of learn that the dragon armies have affected many places far away, and this is kind of like one of the first points of contact where we'll realize that, oh, this is larger than we thought, because like, you know, these elves went through this and faced these things and lost, and now they're out here sort of looking for a way to you know, gain back their home of Sylvanesti. So so yeah, I think this is very interesting. It's not only is Zalamar a very fun character to, you know, write and meet and play with, he's also our window to a larger world, which I think it's a cool thing to represent. Yeah.
Well, speaking of cool stuff, let's kind of backpedal and talk about the preludes that we mentioned earlier, about how they kind of like get us to, when we get to these narrative moments in the game, why they're special. Like you said, you brought in the, like, you're chosen by the gods themselves, and I think the preludes do that well. So I'm going to pop up one here called Broken Silence. And Mario or Aaron, if you want to chime in, but you know, you can click on the pictures, by the way, too, at the magnifying glass. If you hover over that with your mouse, and it'll pop up like that Minotaur statue and bring it up for the players. So
Starboy,
what makes the prelude special in how you design them and what it means?
Well, so the preludes are a new way to include or basically bring in everyone into the same page, or like setting expectations. It's almost like the way that I envision them is kind of like you would either play this at the end of a session 0, they're short encounters, or you know, at the beginning of session 1. There are a couple ways that you could use them as well. You could maybe do them as flashbacks, or while everyone is already you know, at the beginning of the adventure. But the point of this is basically to show players the key differences and the key elements that make the world of Dragonlance unique, setting expectations as to, you know, you with Broken Silence, the one that we're seeing right now, it's basically, it explains to you that the gods have been gone for a very long time, and the prayers have gone unheard for centuries at this point, since the cataclysm. So there's an element of the players experiencing this, and then realizing, you know, they are one of the first waves of people that are starting to hear the call of the gods again. There's another one called Eye in the Sky, where your character can kind of learns the intricacies of how the mages of high sorcery work, and how magic is sort of like highly controlled, and you know, learn about that organization. And I think the final one is kind of like a general purpose for everyone else that's not magically inclined, and that one basically just introduces you to the conflict that's happening, like how big the stakes are. So yeah, Scales of War. Look at those Draconians. Oh
Yeah, if you click on them and pop them up, they're so cool. The art is so beautiful, of just like seeing it like that.
And if you know anything about Dragonlance, that knight that's lying there, that armor is not any knight. so
and that's one of the Salamnic knights that you can join through the new background system.
Exactly.
And I believe you take one of the feats at level 1, and then you go at level 4, and I think later on at level 8, but you progress in the order itself, and you kind of like rank up and get some cool stuff you can do.
Yes.
Now, so these preludes, they lead into the bigger adventure, but you kind of touch on it there, the Draconians. I'm going to kind of pop this up. What do you all think makes like these creatures special? Now, there should be, you might be seeing a stat block in front of you with a character sheet for everybody. So that's like the built-in actions of the creature. And then at the top, there should be some tabs. One of them is bio and info. If you click on that, that will give you like more details. If you're a player or a GM, you go in there and you can look at all the information, the artwork, and some of the size of how big those winged creatures are and whatnot. But what I found interesting is like all these creatures have death throws, like which is a feature that if they die, you had better not be around it. So
Yeah.
what do you all have to say about this new kind of thing that all these creatures have in this setting, and maybe what's special about that if you're fighting them?
I mean, I just sort of like you said, and I think especially given the fact, thinking back to the fray, that positioning can be important, like as you're moving through the world, and then yet again, sort of where you are physically. Like if you're right next to Draconian when the death throws happen, it's not going to be your best day.
Yeah.
It really, like, I think it really makes you think about sort of where you are a little bit. Which I think you always do, but I think is really important to emphasize in something that's so large scale, that even though you're just one creature, like where you are and how other things influence you and how you influence them is really important. Also, just look at that facial expression. I'm sorry, I have to call out the evil smile of murder face that is
Oh, hell yeah.
happening.
What
Like, definitely not as huggable.
can
But
you show it
the
again, Anthony? Sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm gonna show up a
Yeah.
different one here. There's some other. Here's one that's all clad in armor. Comes at you. Flying through the sky. I mean, I am just horrified by some of these. Let's
yeah.
see. But yeah, they have. Let me see if I bring up some more creatures here. That you can kind of. So they're with the dragon army. Is kind of where they're at. Here's one that I want to show that you talked about earlier. That we kind of the slad hybrids that I've seen. So I'm gonna pop this up for you. So this is the Draconian Slad hybrid. So what the heck is that? A Draconian Slad hybrid. Please tell me. Do we have to run away when we see
Uh,
these things?
so yeah, so it turns out that, well, for anyone out there that doesn't know a lot of Dragonlance or just Draconians in general, Draconians are kind of like this horrible abominations created by the Dragon Queen, that are sort of corruptions of the eggs of metallic dragons. So they are considered unnatural. They are monstrous, and they are kind of like, they are sort of the way that they, I guess, defile these creatures which are supposed to be good, right? So there is an encounter at some part of the adventure where you will find that the dragon army has gone further with those experiments and created something even more horrible. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say Draconian Slad hybrid. I mean, I guess that it explains, kind of speaks for itself. So
Let me bring I got an image of them. Let me see if I can pop them up here.
When a
The
draconian and a
red.
slad
Here we
love each
go.
other very much.
I'm gonna pop this one out. There we go.
yeah, look at
There.
that, covered in
Yeah.
tadpoles.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. That is cool. But yeah, you got a bunch of different creatures. I'm gonna pull up another one here. This is a Civac, and again, they all do different death throws, and they are corrupted. I thought that was cool when I was reading chapter 1. So I do not know a lot about Dragonlance lore. I've heard a lot about it being a D&D player. And so this is my first real introduction with the lore. And when I read through chapter 1, it was really cool because it gave that broad history of the cataclysm and how the Dragon Queen, who is also she's Tiamat, but in this world, it's Takis, I believe it is.
Takisis, yeah.
Yep, Takisis. And
Yeah.
it's cool to see like how the worlds are all interconnected. Tiamat's now coming here and trying to take over, and they corrupted the metallic dragons babies and made this like horrible army.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot going on in this world. I'm gonna bring up the map, the big map that we were looking at earlier, because there is artwork in the bottom left.
Oh,
Of this,
hell yeah.
of Takisis and her human form,
Yes.
wearing all black armor with the staff, and then her dragon form as the queen. And then you got, on the right there, you have like the forces of good, the Salamnic Knights, who get a bad rap. From what I took, is they get blamed for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
For not doing enough, I guess. But so let's see. There is also the name of the book, Dragonlance, is named after a magic item.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is a Dragonlance that you can get in this. I'm going to pop it up in this adventure, which is a legendary weapon. So, what is the deal with these Dragonlances, and why would it be super cool if our players got to mess around with them? And I think there's two of them. There's also a pike version I'm going to pull up. There's a lance and there's like a pike. So there's two
Yeah.
types. So Mario, Aaron, any words of wisdom there? If not, I mean, when I was looking at it, I'm thinking, as a paladin, if you're using this, you're getting a +3 bonus to attack rolls. You got when you hit a dragon, the extra damage. But what is unique about these in this world, if anything? Do you think?
Aaron, you wanna?
No. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry.
I just saw a kind of like the first Dragonlance basically is that was created is the weapon that was used to banish Takesis from the world many ages ago. So that's kind of like the origin of this artifact, because if you read this is all explained in the introductory chapter of the adventure, that kind of legendary weapon has been used to basically keep evil dragons at bay every time they rise, and this is the sort of like legendary weapon that resurfaces and eventually is used to by heroes to overcome this legendary enemies. And the adventure offers an opportunity to find one, and you can probably guess, because of the Shadow of the Dragon Queen, that you might be able to use it in some form. It's interesting because it's such an iconic object that it's both very prominent in the novels. It's kind of like the pivotal central artifact of the War of the Lands, and you kind of get to play a part in that. You get to sort of live your own War of the Lands in a way. I cannot expand too much on it because this one actually does get in some very heavy spoiler territory. but yeah, I'll just say that there's one, you find it, and it may or may not work.
So what you're saying is
you did a good job. I was like, how did we say? But it's just also just freaking cool. I mean, like, it's called Dragonlance. Like, it's the Dragonlance. Like it's like it's like being King Arthur and have the sword in the stone.
Yeah.
There's definitely that kind of vibe a little bit. I think it's like that. It's so epic, and like if you are somebody who has read about the War of the Lands, it's just such a cool thing to be able to experience your own version of it, and it's just epic. One of those epic moments of cool that you kind of want to have at your table.
Yeah, I know. I imagine like giving it to the you're like a GM gives it to the player, and like, okay, you got this cool lance to kill dragons, and then it's like and a red dragon comes flying at you, and you're like, roll for initiative, and then let it go. Yeah, it's just cool. There's so many dragons in here. We have a lot of cool stuff. I'm gonna show some just a few more quick maps that I think are cool. There's this flying citadel that Lord Soth is on, like flying through the sky, and it's like there's a helm, another magic item that's pretty cool, but it's a helm that you can wear and drive this thing, which is really neat. There's a few other cool magic items I want to kind of show here. There's Orb of Dragonkind, which is neat. I saw this one here. Oh,
very
I got
iconic
one.
item.
Okay,
too. Yeah.
This one was one of mine. I laughed so hard when I saw this. A Fargab is like a radio walkie-talkie thing.
My god!
It's like
there's a whole section dedicated to gnome inventions in this book, and it's great.
Oh my! I love.
That's how we're communicating right now on the Fargab.
And there's
to let you all know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you have the flinger? The
gnome flinger. Look for the gnome flinger.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. What in the world is the artwork? The artwork alone. There's a person being flown in the air. What is this? Okay. What is this thing?
It's literally just a catapult.
Nope, it's
Oh
a
my
flinger
gosh.
of gnomes.
I'm reading it. So if you
Yeah.
scroll down on the picture, it shows you a gnome flinger is a catapult designed to hurl creatures instead of projectiles. Why? Why? I guess
Look, okay,
Because
look.
I need to go over
gnomes.
there.
You want to get far enough away to use the far gab, because like
Yes.
Oh
and
wow.
So
just take that with
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. Now, if you click right there, the Nara crash is the object that you use with it in order to avoid being destroyed when you land.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So you get flung, and then you use
Yes.
this little vest
Exactly.
as a floating device in the
Yeah.
sky. Oh my gosh,
There
this
you
is
I just
go.
amazing.
yeah, I just love
Holy cow.
the how inventive the writer, I mean Wes and the team were with the names for this, because I mean this you could just say a parachute, right? But no, it's an
Yeah.
air crash and it's balloons and it's so extra. I love it.
Oh, I just see like a little Kender with a Fargab, like wearing the Nera Crash and get on the Gnome Flinger, and he's just like recording his, and we're going to the
Yeah.
air. Ah! Yeah, just getting flung around
Oh, the
the
humanity.
place.
Oh,
Oh wow, look at this one here. A boiler jack.
Oh hell
Oh,
yeah.
that is
yeah.
awesome. What? So there's a whole section, yeah, that's apparently gnomish
Also, look
inventions
at how
and
like
siege equipment.
easily
Wow.
you're pulling these up. Like, not to be like,
Yeah, yeah.
BT,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, that's one of the other things that I really like about like this, system is like you can go through and just be pulling them up and showing them off, and it just makes it so easy to access the content in like a
Yeah.
really fun, quick way. Just so that we can all have fun looking at it now. But even when you're
Oh,
playing, you could be like, "What was that gnome thing again?"
yeah.
Aha, the gnome flinger,
Yeah.
obviously.
And what's cool is like here, here's one that's cool because this shows like all the like the gnomes fighting goblins, I think, in
Oh, I
action.
love this art.
Like
The chickens.
yeah. And so like these are all being saved in your journal, which is really cool. So like all the notes that you take as a player or the GM, I can like put the notes in there for you. Roll20 loads all this information automatically. So like all the magic, information for the equipment and stuff is already preloaded. So when I share it with you, it's going in your journal and you have it now to reference whenever you want. You don't need to rely on me because it's now in your journal too, which I think is also very user friendly for the player, and it takes a big load off the GM because they don't have to keep telling you. And also that person who's like in every D&D group keeps like tabs on the treasure, and that person's taking some off the top, right? Like
Yeah.
we all know this. Like they're always like, oh yeah, we got 10,000
Don't out our
gold,
secrets.
and they're
Yeah.
like, 10%, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just really cool to see, and I think the artwork to like again, I'm going to show this one here. This is really cool. Like one of
Oh,
Lord
hell
Stomp's
yeah.
servants, just like it just brings it to life, like how I can get so immersed in the screen. And I'm not showing it right now, but the jukebox feature that Roll20 has where you can play music. So GMs can load different thematic sounds or musical soundtracks, and then I pop up a picture, boom, and I hit play, and it's all happening together, and it's really bringing you to the fantasy in your head is coming alive. So I think we're gonna kind of go back to where we started. Again, there's so much content with this. What kind of final words of advice do you have for folks who are thinking about playing the Dragonlance campaign, and also maybe now that you've had a little experience yourself with the stuff you've written on Roll20, maybe like why this is a unique way to play if people can't play in person together. So I'll kind of leave it over to you.
I'm muted. I was gonna say that you kind of hit the nail on the head right there, which is like if you can't play in person, this is the best way to do it, and that is a huge plus. I myself, like for the past, I guess, 5 or 6 years, most of my gaming has been done through virtual tabletops, especially in the past 2 through the pandemic and all that. So like that's a huge plus. And just the convenience and how fast you can queue up rolls and roll tables and stuff like that adds a lot of agility to running the game, which I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the roles definitely like I do own many dice, but I am slow sometimes, honestly,
Math
at rolling, like
hard.
making sure I'm rolling the right thing and adding
Yeah.
it, and people are like, "Get it together, girl," because I'm maybe in a moment, and so I think here, I think because of that, it's so immersive because it's taking place on the same window that you're seeing the art and you're seeing everything else, and so it really makes it feel like you're both. It's like you're both controlling it and experiencing it in kind of a different way, and also like Mario said, like I've moved before and like there's nothing worse in the olden days, where you're like, well, I moved and there goes that D&D
Yeah.
game. Let me know how it goes, I guess. Did you save the world? Whereas now you could say like, okay, let's still all meet up together. And for folks who are far away from their groups or who want, worried about COVID, want to make sure that they're doing things, virtually. I think it's such a great experience, but I almost think of it as will play this even with people that are close to me because I really like the immersive experience of seeing it on my screen. I'm a
Hmm.
screen person, and I think like it's been a really great kind of revelation to me that happened during the pandemic to be able to see what this type of system, what VTTs, what Roll20 can do, could really bring the game to you in a really new and interesting way. And so I really enjoy it. For me, it really lets me focus on the story also and let the DM, let the GM like do their thing, and it's almost like magic is happening in front of me, and I can't see how the sausage is being made. And there's something just really fun and immersive about that.
Nice. Yeah. Some things that I'll add. So, we did not rehearse this like video call, okay? Which is kind of like you get a little nervous, right? Because we're like, okay, we're going to be doing this. How's the technology and everything going to work? But look, the videos that you've all seen, the connectivity, like the built-in audio and voice and videos, frames, and everything is all like pretty seamless in my experience. And then me bringing everything up it makes it quick. It speeds up play. You get to the really good, enjoyable moments of the game, and you don't have to sit there and calculate all the dice rolls or draw a map. Because how many times is it like I'm going to hand draw this city map like this based off of that picture I saw, that beautiful image. Like now I could blow it up. I could show the players as a GM. I don't have to do all that prep. Roll20, all this is preloaded into the module. And then if I want to read about the other stuff, I have the compendium I could read about. But the other awesome thing that I want to talk about is the with DM's Guild. So Roll20, you can bring all your material from DM's Guild straight over onto the platform. So the PDFs, there's new features now that allow you to bring the pages on and show your players, and all that stuff is content being made to enhance Dragonlance and the book that you all have helped create, which is cool. Like there's going to be new magic items that are out, new creatures to challenge players, new subclasses that are Dragonlance specific. So like Roll20, of all the virtual tabletop platforms, like it really has a lot going for it because you can enrich your game with the DM's Guild material that the virtual tabletop's being purposely built for to import stuff over. So I mean, win-win
Yeah,
all
I
around. And
totally,
yeah.
I totally agree. I just gotta say, not to like jump on that, but I'm thinking also just because Dragonlance has such a rich history, I think the DMs get like people didn't have to learn about the setting as a whole
Mm-hmm.
before they could start. I think today is the first day that you can get, things
Mm-hmm.
on DMs Guild, and I'm sure there's plenty on there already
Mm-hmm.
because people really care about this. And so I think it's sort of like if you're like, oh, I wish they'd also explored this and this in the book, somebody has probably done that, and then you can, like you're saying, add it just like to your virtual table.
Boom. Oh, this is great. Well, you
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna let you all kind of say some final words, and then once again say your social media handles and everything like that. But I want to personally thank you for spending your launch day here with me. And Roll20, thank you all for inviting us to have this opportunity to showcase Dragonlance. And I think there's no better day or way to spend the launch day of Dragonlance and sitting here showing off the new content with Roll20 and talking to these great, wonderful writers who brought this to life with the rest of the team at Wizards for us to enjoy. So I will start with Mario, and then we'll go to Aaron.
Last words. I guess just enjoy what we brought for you. Let us know how you like the adventures. I mean, so far the from the comments I've seen, people seem to be really digging it. I look forward to seeing who everyone's favorite, I guess, NPC is, because I mean we kind of touched upon ours, but yeah, let us know what your favorite disaster person in this adventure is, because there's a lot. There's a lot
There's a
of
lot.
them. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Mario Ortegon again. You can find me on Twitter as Elwarius to figure out what I'm working on. That is ELWARIUS. I hope I spell that right. Let's say
We'll
I
find
did.
out.
We'll find you. We'll
Yeah.
find you.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I just want to echo, like, have a great time, enjoy, make it your own, as always happens anyway. Hopefully fun things happen. One of my favorite things to do is to see how other people are playing something, how the game is going for y'all, and kind of look to see how every different table takes it in their own way. So I just hope you have a really fun time, and you know, you can find me, Aaron Roberts, on Twitter at Narelle, Nirele, Aaron backwards. So that could be cool, like Mario. And yeah, just have a great time and enjoy.
Awesome. And again, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Roll20. And for everybody watching, thanks for staying tuned in. And you can find me, Anthony Joyce Rivera, on Twitter, @Joyce_Rivera, or AnthonyDreams.com. And we'll see you all around. Roll20. Take care.